It's October 8th, 2021. We're in Sin City for Game 5 of the WNBA semifinals between the Phoenix Mercury and the Las Vegas Aces. And this is an elimination game. Phoenix just went up by 2 with 4.8 seconds left on the clock. Chelsea Gray is about to inbound the ball to Vegas' best post scorer, A'ja Wilson. Almost guaranteed bucket. Only knock on that plan though, one of the league's best post defenders, Brittney Griner, is glued to her hip. They're about to meet at the summit and determine who's going to go face the Chicago Sky in the finals and who's about to go home on this last second shot attempt. This moment between two already legends of the sport deserves a deep rewind. Brittney Griner is hard to miss on this play, a 6'9" center right in the middle of the action. She's doing an awesome job here of making sure A'ja Wilson does not get a comfortable look at the basket with time winding down. This is Griner's home, the post, and that's where she's dominated for years. Griner has been a winner since high school, being named an 09 All-American and working her way to Baylor University to play with Kim Mulkey and the Bears. With Baylor, she collected an NCAA championship and broke a few records, dunked a few times, and landed as a top prospect in 2013 ahead of the WNBA draft. The Phoenix Mercury, which was picking first, didn't overthink it. Phoenix immediately got better pairing Griner with legendary players in Candace Dupree and Diana Taurasi. If you needed any indication back then of how impactful BG was going to be in the W, look no further than her tying Candace Parker's previous record for most dunks in a season in one game, her first game. Here she is finishing with ease off the assist at the rim with a one-handed slam. And again, finishing with two hands in transition and hanging off of the rim. Just a spectacular debut. While her rookie year was tough, her sophomore year saw her quickly adjust and look like the player folks projected her to be entering the league. A top post player at worst, a superstar at best. BG, Taurasi, and Dupree helped lead the Mercury to a championship in BG's second year in the league. Such a difficult bar to clear for a young player, and she did it, which makes the following years so tough. Since that 14 chip, Phoenix struggled to get another banner. They were in the postseason literally every single season after that championship, but just couldn't get past some really stiff competition out west. Plus, the wobble happened, which forced the W to move to Florida for their 22-game season. Griner actually sat out during Phoenix's games in the postseason that year, and without her on the floor, they dropped yet another postseason game to the Lynx, one and done, eliminated. Griner was so good in the postseason when she was healthy, often leading or one of the leading scorers for the Mercury. But when faced with teams featuring other elite post scorers like the Lynx with Sylvia Fowles and Maya Moore, or the Storm with Brianna Stewart, she has struggled to carry her team. The Mercury also dropped their last few games of the regular season to some juggernauts, the Aces, the Sun, and the Storm, so it felt like they weren't ready for the moment this year. Couple that with a DT ankle injury, which we've seen creeping back into relevancy in this contest, and they felt like underdogs. But they're here in the semifinals despite all of that, asking us all to do what their playoff warm-ups say. They went through 2 elimination games to get to the Aces, one ridiculously close one versus the New York Liberty, and an OT thriller versus the always thorn in their side Seattle Storm. Griner had double-doubles in both elimination games and was piecing together an elite postseason leading up to the Aces series. Wilson, on the flip side, is younger with far less postseason experience than BG. They have the same goal, obviously, getting to the finals, but they're at completely opposite ends of their careers right now. Griner has a chip, her legacy is basically sealed. For Wilson though, this is a legacy definer. Wilson entered the league in 2018, having been just as successful as Griner, an NCAA champion, an outstanding freshman, a multiple-time SEC Player of the Year, the list goes on. The Las Vegas Aces, headed into the draft that Wilson was featured in, also did not overthink it. She was immediately thrust into a franchise looking to reboot its image, moving from San Antonio to Vegas after a few years of being pretty down bad. In her rookie season, she was already on one, Rookie of the Year, third in scoring, and an all-star. In her third year, the wobble season, she was named MVP of the league and led the Aces to the finals despite missing a key star in Liz Cambage with an injury. Even though their run was grounded by Sue Bird and the Seattle Storm that year, it was obvious that Wilson wasn't just a flash-in-the-pan college star who needed time to settle into WNBA pacing and physicality. She was here, she was ready to dominate the league, even by herself. But as with any star, the true metric of success and dominance in a professional sport is how many chips you've got. And at this point, Wilson hadn't gotten that trophy with Las Vegas. The Aces, in this moment, are just trying to get back to the finals after reaching those heights in 2020, with MVP Asia leading the way. They finished first in the Western Conference in 2021, went 24-8, led in offensive rating, second in defensive rating, just a powerhouse of a season from such a young team led by Wilson. Prior to the start of the postseason, ESPN unanimously predicted that the Aces would reach the finals, and likely lose to the Sun, but no one predicted the Mercury would be able to reach the finals. Feels like a changing of the guard, or I guess changing of the post player, with that prediction. So the weight of this shot for Wilson is pretty heavy. She could establish herself as a big that gets under Griner's skin, and it would send her and Vegas back to the finals to face off with Candace Parker and the Sky. A miss, though, would mean the Aces are sort of back at square one, figuring out how to surround Wilson with enough talent to get over that hump again. This game has been so ridiculously frantic, especially in the fourth quarter. It's also been a close game, which is to be expected from two teams in desperation mode. And it's a game that's been kind of bogged down by a hobbled Taurasi seen limping through the later stages of this game. Shea Petty of the Mercury actually drew the perfect foul, one as she was throwing up a desperation heave from beyond the arc off a pass from Taurasi, and she put Phoenix up by 2 with 4.8 seconds to go. Now, Petty landed in the W a bit differently than Griner or Wilson. Her college accolades match up with theirs, but her ability to stick with the WNBA team hasn't been as sure-footed as Wilson's or Griner's. You're not seeing things. That's a 7-year gap between draft day and her first day on the job. After finally landing with the Washington Mystics roster in 2019, she relocated to Phoenix in 2020. In her first year with Griner and company, she proved opportunity is simply delayed and not denied, flexing her clutch gene as a 30-year-old rookie. So it's sort of perfect that another clutch Petty shot has landed Phoenix in this spot, 1 year removed from her postseason heroics. Regardless of the straightforwardness of this play, this is the moment both Griner and Wilson have been craving since this game tipped off. Both elite at their position, both looking to return their franchises to glory. Griner's called this position home her entire career. Wilson wants to move in right with her in the post. Griner isn't so willing to get a partner there. Welcome to a moment in history.
4.8 to go. Gray to inbound. Gray looking in, has to float it in, gets it to Wilson. Wilson blocked by Griner, controlled by Griner. 0.7 to go. Phoenix on the brink of heading to the finals.
Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Greatly appreciated. If you want to see more stuff like this before it's on YouTube, or you want to read or watch exclusive things from the Secret Base team that won't make their way onto YouTube, subscribe to our Patreon.